Today I'm going to show you how to make Dandelion Italiano. Here I have some fresh dandelions that I dug out of the garden. Once I dug them up, I tried to get as much as the root as I could because you want the roots. They're really delicious. The roots contain a lot of prebiotic starches, which are healthy for gut flora. And then the leaves are loaded with minerals. This is a super dense nutritive food containing high calcium, potassium, and a host of trace minerals. So dandelions are a superfood, and I'm going to show you how to prepare them into something delicious. Most people don't like to eat dandelion greens because they taste bitter, but the recipe I'm going to share with you doesn't taste bitter at all. So once I dug them out of the ground, I did remove all of the dead leaves. So sometimes there's a few dead leaves or like blades of grass twinkled in. So I just pulled out anything that didn't look delicious and edible. And then I washed the roots really well. And I always make sure to wash in between these little bits down in the crown because that's where dirt tends to get trapped. I missed a little bit, but that's okay. It'll come out in the blanching process when we boil it in water. So once they're cleaned and prepped for chopping, the first step is to remove the roots from the leaves. So I just separate the roots like this, because the roots are a little harder to chop and the leaves are really easy to chop. So I separate them, and then I can just go through here and just coarsely chop. I'll kind of give them like maybe 2-inch lengths, roughly. And make those greens into a pile. If your tips didn't separate, you can just chop off the bundle little end there so they do separate. And then I chop the roots. And I do them separately because they're harder to cut, so it takes a minute longer. And I cut the roots a little smaller. I'll do those in like 1/2-inch lengths so they mix in well to the whole recipe. The next step is to boil a pot of water so that we can blanch our dandelions. And in here you can see I have the roots and the leaves. And we blanch it for 20 minutes. And when the blanching happens, it removes the bitter taste from the dandelion greens. And you still retain most of the nutrient value. It does get a little degraded, but you remove all the bitter taste. I have been able to feed this recipe to my picky child and my family members, and they say, "Oh, yum, this is delicious. Heather, what is it?" So this is the trick. Blanch it for about 20 minutes. So I'm gonna put that back in there. It's at a rapid boil. And then in 20 minutes, we're gonna strain it and then saute it in garlic and olive oil and some balsamic vinegar to dress it. Ta-da! Now that our dandelions are blanched and strained, we're gonna just saute it. I got some really good quality olive oil here. And I put the garlic in first because I want that to get a little bit soft and cooked before I add the dandelions because those are already cooked. And the blanching really does remove almost all of the bitter taste. There's sometimes a slight bitter that's left, and you can taste test them. If you like it like that, which I kind of like a little bitter. Actually, it's all gone. Sometimes if you still taste bitter after the first blanching, you can blanch it again, just do a second round of just blanching it for like 5 more minutes. Like I'll strain out the old water and put in fresh water and do a second round for just 5 minutes. But honestly, the first round of just 20 minutes of blanching pretty much does it. So here I am getting my garlic all sauteed. The other thing is that you'll see that was 4 dandelions that I picked. And by the time you blanch it, it shrinks down quite a bit. So fortunately, this is just for me. So it's a serving for 1. Yes, I deserve all this work and effort. So I take pride in my self-care. But if I were going to be serving this to as a dish for multiple people, I would go for a lot more. So 4 dandelions is usually about enough for 1 serving. I was taught this recipe by a woman named Cascade Anderson Geller. And she would always say, gather up a whole mess of dandelions, because she was from the South, to make a large pot, a large dish bowl. And I actually counted how many dandelions a whole mess is, and I think there's a variable there. But if you're serving, say, 4 to 6 people, you probably want 16 to 20 dandelions to make your recipe. So digging is probably the hardest part, is getting them out of the ground. But that's also the fun part, because you get to go stick your hands in the earth. So now my garlic is fragrant. So I saute the garlic just until it's fragrant, which it is. And now I'm adding, this is the leaves and the roots combined. They've already been blanched. And now I'm going to saute them in. Some of these are still together. Just going to separate them. They mix it nice. There we go. Still together. And I think adding a little salt is a good idea. So just a little salt. A little more of a saute. And you know, dandelions are a traditional food, and they are also a springtime alternative. So the spring dandelions are really the delicious ones, the ones that taste better. I mean, all dandelions are going to be bitter, but they're actually less bitter in the springtime. And spring alternatives are herbs that usually come up like the first plants of spring, the edible weeds. The edible weeds that come up in the first of spring help with detoxification. And they actually will drain out damp heat, drain inflammation, drain swellings and puffiness, just so kind of like the old version of a spring cleanse, which historically people had sedentary lives all winter long, and you'd be sitting around eating the last of whatever stored dried fats, meats you had in your pantries. And when the first greens come out, they help the cleansing and the detoxification process. Here we are, they're all done. Really, the sauteing part takes about 5 minutes. That's what's left. So this just has the olive oil, garlic, and salt in there. And now that the heat is off, I am going to add my balsamic. A little bit of both, just drizzle it lightly with balsamic at the end. And we have now a delicious traditional Italian dish, Dandelion Italiano. Bon appetit. This is one of the most delicious ways to eat your weeds. Go get some wild plants in ya. See you next time.